And we are live.
All right, Les, we're ready to go.
Okay. Well, welcome, David, Angela, and myself, and Mike, and Diane. Um, this is going to be a relatively short meeting. Robert's had some family matters to attend to, so he's on the road somewhere, so he won't be here. And so we don't have a quorum. I don't believe we were going to vote on anything other than the minutes. So we should be able to at least have a informative meeting. So I'll just quickly go over the agenda. We're going to do the usual. Mike will do his reports. We have some old business, which we can go through, and then some new business, and that'll pretty much be it. We do have some interesting things to talk about, but a lot of the interesting stuff we'll be accomplishing next week when we try and update the strategic plan. Mike will talk about this, but the commission has not yet interviewed candidates for the two missing authority seats. So we're down to 4 of us, and I have no idea. Mike may have a better idea, Angela, when we might see 2 new members. So I think the earliest would probably be September, maybe. So is any new business that someone wants to add to the agenda before we move forward? Don't see anyone. We can't approve the minutes, but if you would just take a look at them and just see if there's anything you want to let Angela know that might need to be changed. I couldn't find anything. I looked at them, but David or Diane?
I didn't see where. Oh no, I just completely missed the email. My bad. I didn't think I had received them, but I was looking in the wrong spot for them. Never mind. I haven't read them yet.
Okay. So we'll have to do that in August. Hello, Josh. Nice to see you here. We were saying, Josh, we don't have a quorum today, so the authority right now just has 4 members, but the 2 slots are waiting to be filled, and one of our members, Robert, had some pretty urgent family business, so he's in the car somewhere as we speak. So
all right, well, good to see y'all. Hope you're doing all right today.
Same with yourself.
Good.
So I'll just quickly turn it over to Mike to give us an update on financials and operations and marketing.
Okay, well, thank you, Chairman Les.
Chairman, well, that's great.
Our financials, we ended the year, of course, the end of June. We ended June with a negative 30,000, almost 31,000. We didn't end the year as I had hoped. The pandemic, of course, had pretty much put a halt to our sales since the beginning of March and wiped out any momentum we had to make it a good banner year. But still, I feel like we did good in the end. We're seeing a rise in the daily activity, and that's good. And we're hopeful that this will continue. Just to give you an idea, March was at 1,700 plus in operations, and April was 1,600 in operations. May was about 2,054, and in June we saw 2,300. So we're showing a rise of about 719 operations from our lowest point back in April. So it's slowly increasing, and I'm thankful for that. Looking at the second page of our financials, and let me pull this up for you. Let's see here.
Didn't work.
Yeah, you got it now? Well, let's see. Hang on a second. We'll get it up. We'll get it on. Okay, we got the Microsoft Excel. Okay, so let's go to the bottom here. You can see actual for the month to date total revenues and 110,000. Our expenses were 141 with a negative 30, almost 31,000. And so year to date, we completed 100% of the year, and you can see in actual, we had 2.6 million in revenue and 2.3, almost 2.4 in expenses for a final of 281. Going on down to our ops and also our gallons sold. The for the June month, we've had avgas of 5,673, and well below our budget, as you can see. And also Jet A, 11,900, again below our budget. But we would have shot above and beyond, those numbers if things had been different. The operations I just went over, so you can see our operations for June was 2,300. We did meet that. We would have met it even more, I believe, if we had the opportunity. Our budget was 38,000, and we actually hit 40,260 year to date for ops. So that's still a good number. We hit our budget, but still, as you know, we were on a roll for a little while there. Let's see, project updates. We've got several projects, as you know, in the hopper. We're still working toward getting the localizer relocated and the taxiway alpha project going. I have a supplemental agreement from GDOT that I'm looking over now that I want to get to the mayor and commission for their approval, which will basically restructure some of the monies that were left over from the runway project that we're going to be using on the localizer project. I'm also waiting on word about a grant for the taxiway alpha project. They announce cities about it at the end of every month, starting with last month. So here we are at the end of this month, and we're hopeful that we'll hear something, hopefully this week or next, about our taxiway alpha project grant, and that we can move forward with that as well. Holt, GDOT, and the airport, we've been in contact with Astra, who's the contractor for the project. We had a virtual meeting and just talked and just kind of made some preliminary plans prior to, to these projects, just kind of get to know everybody, and get on the same page and let everybody know kind of where we stand as to what I just told you. So I'm looking forward to these two projects. They're something that we need to get done for sure. Let's see. The marketing and outreach. We had, all thing I have to report on that is the fireworks show, which I think was a big success. It was a 38-minute show, and it went over very well. Everything here on the airport was safe and secure. I was really impressed with Athens-Clarke County, leisure services, the police department, fire department, everybody involved. They made sure that we were safe on the airport. They had several folks on ATVs riding the perimeter of our airport. And of course, outside of that, the parking lots were full, my understanding. And also the lot that we had used, the airport lot off of Buddy Christian, that was full. And everything, as far as I know, we had an after meeting, and everybody, I mean, we talked about the good, the bad. There wasn't too much ugly. I mean, there was some things that could be improved on, but other than that, it was really a good success, I think. And then the COVID-19 impact. I asked Josh if he would help me out on that one, because he knows what's going on a lot with that.
Sure. I think, speaking to our organization, we recognize that confirmed positives are increasing in our community. There is community spread of COVID-19, and we're taking, steps and precautions. We are in what we're calling phase 3 right now, and Mike can remind you all what that means for the airport. But today we kind of made our first announcement where we're beginning to pull back. We haven't decided to go to phase 2, but we did decide today to close all pools and splash pads, which, were one of the last things we opened. So what you'll see is us begin to think what makes the most sense. Should we have pools open right now? No, that's not something we should be doing for the safety of our residents and staff. So that doesn't mean that we're going to all of a sudden close all facilities. But those were some of the last facilities open. The zoo is similar in nature to that, and the Morton Theater. So these are facilities that we tried, and based on the current environment and what we're seeing, we think it's more important to prioritize safety in these areas. I do think that what Mike and his team are doing at the airport is prioritizing safety, but we might get to the point later in the year if we continue to see these numbers where we do have to step back across the organization. But at this point, we're trying to handle this one facility at a time. So that's kind of the current approach.
Yes, and here at the airport, we are kind of, as I explained last month, I don't think we've changed much from that. We haven't totally opened up our terminal. We still have the area of the pilot lounge and that area closed. We don't allow anybody in the conference room here yet. So the only thing we really do allow, of course, is the general public to go into the main lobby area of the terminal building. And we do have masks that are available for anybody that doesn't have one. We do have some. We did get those from Homeland Security and the FAA. We got about 3,000 masks from them, and we've got them ready whenever somebody comes in and we offer it to them. But as I go through the lobby, most everybody I see has masks on. So they're doing their parts. We have signage up on the doors. Human Resources just put out another sign, I think last week or the first of this week. Anyway, we printed it off and put it up on the door in addition to what we already had. So we are allowing a courtesy car to go out, not both of them, just one. And but it's not used very much. But the pilots do come in, the corporate folks, and we had military in here. We weren't quite sure if they were going to use it today or not. But we do like to offer that to them because they really have no way of getting downtown or getting food or anything. So we are making sure that those are sprayed and cleaned very well after each use. And we continue to do that, not just with the courtesy cars, but our customer service personnel continue to spray and wipe down whenever somebody's in here, especially the area that they're at. So we're being very cautious, and we're trying to be diligent in that respect too. Thank you, Josh, for that update.
Can I ask a question, Josh? The budgets that were approved, we're sort of assuming back to normal. And if we keep continuing running at the rate we have the past few months, where's this county going to find money, to fund this losses essentially every month? Is there a plan?
Well, I think speaking to the airport, y'all did receive in past years a general fund transfer.
Yeah.
So at some point during the year, further down the year, when there's a better sense on what has occurred, maybe it's a 6-month check-in. Potentially what we'll do is we'll do a budget amendment, which would be representative across ACC Gov, and in areas that need more funding, mayor and commission would be voting on a budget amendment. And so changing the budget as they adopted it as of July 1st to recognize a change in revenues or, a need in expenditures or both, right? So what would happen is potentially, that we would pull from fund balance and assign a general fund transfer to the airport to cover that difference. I mean, that's probably the easiest way to do it. But what we would want is more of a historical trend to better understand the situation through the year. And then we could, make an adjustment, but we're ready to handle that, and we're prepared. And this is why you have fund balance for times like this.
Are there adequate reserves for other, if you add us into some of the other, I'll call them enterprise fund?
Yeah, so there's adequate reserves for the organization. And I mean, that's why local governments save money and fund balances for times like this. So yeah, we're prepared, and we think we've got a good plan in place. A lot of it has to do with, kind of the economy and what happens nationally in the state and locally. So I think a lot of that's left to play out. There's the potential for future CARES Act funding as well, for our organization, and we're working on a distribution of that right now as well. So I think there'll be financial opportunities for us to make sure that we're able to meet our needs. So we're going to be working hard on that this year for sure.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to adjust the old business if you all are okay. I've done the performance measures for June, and this is what we were going to do moving forward. And I think it ties in pretty nice to what Mike just presented on the financials. So while those numbers are fresh in our head, if it's okay, I'll move that up. And going forward, Mike and I'll chat over the next few weeks. The plan would be probably that Mike would replace the operations report with this performance measures report when he gives his update. So you've seen the format for this, but you really can, in a snapshot, gives you a good idea how we did this year. And so is it okay if I take the screen, Mike? Okay. Okay. Safari. Okay, can you all see? These are the strategic measures. These were the measures that tied back to our strategic goals and strategies. So this, again, I thought since it's the end of the year, it might be worth chatting. And it's pretty picture, even though we had 2 different years, before February and after. But you could see one of our mission was to provide safe environment. We had no reported NTSB accidents this year. Definitely met our goal. Provide efficient aviation environment. The main measure of that was going to be operating cost per operation. This is something we need to benchmark against some other airports, but we met our goal target for the year. We hit $31. We're gonna, over the next few months, fine tune the tenant and customer survey, so we didn't report that this year. Economic impact, I guess we're still waiting to hear back from the GDOT, who said this summer they were going to have it, but understandably may not. So we're just using 10-year-old numbers. So you can see, in terms of our mission, we've done very well. Capital improvement plan, forget, we're going to change that whole measures. In terms of passengers, we had no scheduled passenger enplanements. We hadn't planned. Great news was, even with having 0 charter this month, and even over the past few months, we beat our goal of 3,200 and had 3,600 charter, and we call them large charter, which is 20 or more passengers. So again, that goal we've done very well. Number of aircraft based on the field, that's current month, and we don't look at it year to date, whatever it is at the current time. We are 2 ahead of what our target was. Also on the increased annual operations, we had targeted 38,000. Even with the last few months that were horrible, we hit 42,000. And these were the numbers Mike was showing. Some of the other things will kick in, like the annual report, the ACC perception survey, but the one thing that we could measure this past year was the number of UGA projects. We met our goal there, so that's green. And then the goal to be financially self-sufficient. We were plugging along where we could have returned money almost to the county, but the last few months we got 105,000. We actually would have needed 67,000. So we sort of beat our target, but we're 67,000 away from being totally self-funding. In February, we were way ahead of that. We were plugging along the other main menu. We were going to do this by increasing operating revenue. Our goal was to do 26%. We were better than that by the end of February, and I feel confident would have beaten that number, but we ended up at 12%. So those were our strategic goals. I want to show a few of the operational measures. And any questions? Is this helpful? Hopefully. Okay, operational measures. Again, these were things that impact the strategic measures. So we are looking now at what's called the taxi and runway weighted, I spelled that wrong, weighted pavement classification number. The target's about 40, we're at 47. The last time we had an FAA inspection was about August or July. We passed with a couple of minor discrepancies. Operation-wise, we have 100% of our hangars leased. This number, percent of FBO hangars, is only 3. We have 2 of them leased, so it doesn't take much to miss the target. Mike has shown you that we were plugging along great on jet fuel. We were killing our numbers on jet fuel. Our goal was 400,000. We ended up 369. We'd have been way over that. But even in the good times, we were still a bit behind on the avgas. Mike showed you the numbers at the bottom line, the operating income. But you can see that we were 22% better. We had targeted 0%, which seems wrong, by the way. But that number, we would have met the target. Revenue to operating expenses, we had targeted 223%. We came very close to that at 215. Gross margin on fuel sales, we would have killed that. We came in, and I put things as yellow if we were 10%, so we came in at 923,000. Again, the number we can really need to look at is our margin. In both cases, 30% for avgas and 50% for jet fuel. So we were actually on what we sold making more money than we had planned. So those were the numbers, and I hope as we move forward, we'll start getting more measures, the marketing and things like that. But for what we've done, it was pretty much a really good year. So
yeah, I would like to add one thing, Les, is one thing not to forget is also we lost one of our major customers back in March too, which was Falcon. They had all of our operations pretty much, and they had all the fuel sales as far as avgas goes. So that was a big hit for us as well.
Totally forgot. Thank you, Mike. So going forward, this will be the monthly report, and I just wanted to. I've created just a little board, not to bore everyone, but a simple sheet. No matter what the format of the final reports are, Josh may say he has a whole new system. Give us your data. So the raw data is in this data sheet. Most of it you don't have to input. We can import the financial report, and then we calculate some of them. So there's not very much information that has to be keyed into this. So I think we're good to go in August. And Josh, if you say, hey, there's a little different format, we want to see the final reports, we can just take this data and figure out how to populate the reports. So I think we're in pretty good shape. I don't remember how to.
Great. I'll just say, hey, great job. We appreciate y'all's focus on this. I think it's a really good match to have solid performance measures to connect with the airport's strategic plan. So I think you got both now, and I think those are really important. And to Les, your point, we're working on rolling out a new performance management software platform that will allow y'all to show both together. And at some point this year, I think we can dream that we'll be able to put that software platform up on the screen during these meetings, and then y'all can engage with that and report on both your strategic plan implementation and performance measures in the same place. And then eventually our aim is to get that out on our website as well. So y'all could do that on the airport website as well.
Okay, good.
But whatever format you come up with, assuming you're fine with our measures, it would just be easy to populate them from that data sheet. So
Yeah, we appreciate it. Great job.
thank you. It was Mike and Angela have really helped a lot. And
Good job, everybody.
and again, I think more importantly, not more importantly, but importantly, hopefully it's a snapshot in time where you can add or delete measures, but this will become a management tool that when Mike presents operations report, we can
Mhm.
don't have
Yeah.
to go over line for line, but focus on the outliers. So
Yeah, it's great information. Oh, it's really good information.
good. Um, You'll see there are some targets missing because, and also goals. When we did our 3 or 4 offsites, we had the rule we wanted smart ones, but we weren't always so smart. We didn't establish a concrete. We made amazing progress. Well, we did in the 4 meetings, but when you got done, we missed a couple. So we'll go back and revisit those. Any questions on the numbers? I think you can see it was if we had had the reports for February, every number would have been green. And
Yeah, everyone would have been. Yeah, I have full confidence it would have been.
Going back, I appreciate going out of order, but it made sense to show those numbers. Leases, Mike, David, anyone else? This has been ongoing.
Yeah, I can start off. We're still on track for sending out the T-hanger leases toward the end of the year, along with a letter to all the tenants, that we'll be conducting hangar inspections to make sure that all the hangars have aviation-related items in them. I've had to kind of back up a little bit on some of my progress. Gwinnett County Airport is completing a major runway project, and will close down or displace their runway for about between 40 or 60 days. It depends on weather. But you know how projects go. But because of this, I've slowed down on vacating the Sonny's hangar. And in order to help, accommodate some of the business that are in need of the airport to temporarily base at. So I gave the tenant in the Sonny's hangar another 60-day extension before he had to vacate, and he's okay with it. So we've kind of shifted gears a little bit. I felt it was important to help other companies at other airports, and of course, it brings revenue into us, and that's a good thing too. But so with that said, our T hangar leases are on track. We're still working on the corporate hangar leases, and also kind of shifted gears a little bit on the other. So that's kind of where we are in the leases right now, Mr. Chairman.
Good. David, I know you and Mike had talked about doing an inventory. It understandably not been the right time yet, but is that still on the plans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just everything's kind of taking it down, just like Mike says.
It can't hard hearing you.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'll mention that.
Is that any better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as soon as we start, I guess Mike, you and I should probably meet and discuss what we want to do about that. We had spoken about putting out a flyer on in each hangar or on the door of each hangar, just letting everybody know that this is coming down the tracks, and we need to have fresh leases. Fresh leases will go out, but we need the information. If aircrafts change.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And with that, when we do the inspections, that's when we can do the inventory, because then we'll be in there and we can see everything that's in there as far as aircraft and numbers, what kind of aircraft it is. Is it the aircraft they say it is, kind of thing. So that'd be a perfect time to do that.
Right.
And then also, the sublease, there'd be no subleasing, so that'll also be that is also in the new T hangars. All of our leases, all of that's in there, no sublease. So we'll make sure everybody knows that as well in these letters, and we'll identify that.
Yeah, Josh and Diana, David and Mike have educated me that, one of the reasons to do the inventory is making sure that we don't have people running a pizza parlor out of a hangar, or they're doing fiberglassing of boats or something. So
or storing hazardous materials. Yeah, anything like that.
It'd be an FAA violation. So,
Yeah.
which is we're not unique from what I've heard. I mean, lots of
Oh no, Rome was that way. I did the same thing in Rome. I mean, yeah, and you have to do it about every few years, it seems. You try to police it best you can, but you're not there 24/7. So
Well,
yeah,
and it's not all intended to be necessarily nefarious. People sell airplanes and gain other things, and hey, I'll just keep that in my hangar, and I'm in between airplanes, and oops, now all of a sudden it's a self-storage unit, and
that's right. That's right.
So it kind of devolves if we're not on top of it. So policing it just to some extent with inspections, which is something that really we want to be doing anyway in order to stay on top of the maintenance. Sadly, a lot of people that have airplanes don't go visit their airplanes all that often, and they're not around enough to say, hey, this is leaking, the roof's got an issue, the electrical's got an issue, so on and so forth. So those are all good reasons to get in the hangars and make sure that everything's okay.
Yep, I agree.
All righty. Moving on, Diane has been serving as a representative on the Lexington corridor, which seems to meet fairly often. And Diane, could you give us a brief update, please? You're muted, Diane, I think.
We meet regularly every month, and I'll give you a quick update, four little updates. It's interesting that the first thing that was discussed is that Kelly Gertz actually streamlined 3 committees. There was a corridor committee. Les, you and I attended that corridor committee meeting. He's actually disbanded that or put those people into the Atlanta Highway and the Lexington Highway corridor committees, which means we've got extra members, but that's good. We actually now have the public input data available, which is interesting because they only got 50 people or 50 replies from people. I, for one, sent out a request to over 5,000 households. So the perennial issue of very, modest public input remains to be discussed and addressed. The traffic study that was commissioned is now in draft report form, and that is going to provide information on things that might help to alleviate some of the traffic problems and the accident rates at the 2 major intersections. So we're going to be looking at that in the next weeks or so. And then last but not least, the really good news is that you may recall I said that on our projects list, we actually had one item or one project identified as for immediate implementation, and that was the airport wayfinding signage. And the Mayor and Commission did actually approve that. So the good news is that actually those wayfinding signs are actually moving forward for implementation. And they asked Mike to give a list of locations for the signs. Mike gave them a list of 19 different locations and a pretty map. So they're all there on the map. And actually, a lot of those are brand new, aren't they, Mike? They're ones where there wasn't a sign before.
They are. Yeah, there's a few new ones there that I thought were important. And I also gave a copy of this to the Athens-Clarke County Traffic Management Department. Well, just recently, yesterday, I think.
So one of the things that they mentioned to the user group is that the SPLOST people will be actually working with GDOT as well to see if there are any additional ways to collaborate or leverage funds that if GDOT, if it's on a GDOT road, obviously there are going to be stipulations they have to honor, but it may be also possible to get GDOT to pay for the signs. But it's a small item, but, I think it's good news because it's something we've been pushing for consistently, and it will help and it'll benefit a lot of people to be able to find their way to the airport from multiple places, not just the old ways. So I'll keep you posted. But the next thing is that we've been asked to actually specify what kind of public input information we want. Because remember, there's another round of public input coming in September, hopefully. And then the real target date is October to take to the Mayor and Commission a budget request for a final project list. So I'll keep you posted. That's it. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Diane. Any questions for Diane? Now, there are other projects like the trail around the airport.
Yeah, all of those are on the list still. And, you know, the big thing is to get public input on how the public sees those, to prioritize them. We've prioritized them, but there's another layer there to either juggle our prioritization or leave it as it is. But there's a lot of leveraging of funds from different pots of money for things like those trails around the airport. I think they've got a pretty good chance, just like sidewalks do. So it's exciting, and we do seem to be, you know, on target and acknowledged for being that. There was no real immediate impact project for the Atlanta Highway. We tended to be a bit of ahead of the curve on that one. So that's good. We had the data and they got it from Mike, and we're moving forward.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
I went over the performance measures. We've done all the real hard stuff now. We're just going to have to start rolling out some additional measures, but many of them are based on us having something to report. So like outreach until we get that going. There are some things like the website views, and that we'll talk about a little later with the UGA intern, but that stuff, once we get someone back, we can start. So it's now just a question of filling in a few over time. Diane, turn it back to you again on the bylaws.
Yeah. Okay.
Diane, just to refresh, everyone was going to go back and focus. A significant one was to get us in line with modern day technology to allow this type of meeting. And then Diane took some the verbiage in our bylaws are not consistent. And then there's some other things she's come up with. So again, the process is we talk about these, and at some point we make a formal recommendation to pass them, and then we have to let that lie for 2 weeks, which is essentially a month till we can meet and vote on them.
Yeah, so just to follow up on that, most of it is done. All right, I've spent a lot of time on it. And initially, it really was just that Article 5, Section 2 statement about electronic meetings being forbidden. There's thunder. But that, as well as all the typos and inconsistency in usage or references to the mayor and commission, personal pronouns, his or her, those sorts of things. You know, I've done all that kind of tidying up in the document. The one thing that is remaining to be done is that Jean Spratlin and I have talked, because the one thing in the very first section of our bylaws that's missing is specific mention of the charter, which prescribes the powers given to the authority relative to enabling legislation. We all know we've got the enabling legislation at the state level, we've got our bylaws, but in the middle is the ACC charter that actually specifies what we can and can't do relative to the enabling legislation. So it's actually in section 4 of the charter, but Jean asked me to give her a little time. She's going to dig out the actual resolution where the mayor and commission voted on that. I don't want to be one of the people badgering Jean. You know how busy she is. She's just totally overwhelmed, but she's been very kind, and she said she will get back to me on that. I think, you know, the work will be done for the end of August meeting, but then hopefully we might have our 2 other authority members with us as well. And then we have the 2-week waiting period, as Les said. There's a set of small items that, Les, I want to get with you. We can do it by phone, where there's some specific little nuggets of wording that you and I need to go over so that we can get it clarified, whether we really want the bylaws to say that in particular on a given point, and then bring that to the whole authority so that it can either be corrected or confirmed. So I'll set up a call with you at some point on those things. So I'd say about 95% of the work's done. It's been much bigger than I actually intended it to be, but you know, when we're going to have it up on the website and everywhere else, it needs to be updated and correct.
So the plan hopefully would be to have something to review in August at the next meeting, and vote in September.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. I realized I skipped over item B, airport appointments. Talk about badgering, Gene. I'm badgering. I'm one of the badgers. Mike, maybe you probably have talked to her since I've talked to her. Just a notice on what she is saying. Understand that it's more a guess maybe than reality, but
Well, it's still on there. They're probably going to do it in August right now, and then we should see somebody by August or September at least. That's where it is right now.
Yeah.
and we can function as long as we have four of us. So
Yeah.
the moving on, new business, air service development. I think I just wanted to recap that. I think where we left it last time, pretty much the thought of getting a real legacy airline in here in the next 3 or 4 years is, while possible, going to require a lot of work. I've read one or two, and I don't want to swear to it, but I think it was Delta. They were talking. They hope by June to get back to 50% of where they were in March. So the airlines, and I think we're going to see in a month or so when what was it called, the PPP expires. I mean, we're hearing United talking about laying off 36,000 employees. Some of the other airlines, Delta and Southwest, are doing it through buyouts and early retirement. So, as you know, we talk. Anyone. We're going to try and just pursue maybe some entities with different business models. So I have it on my to-do just to keep maybe slowly plowing along to talk to the people in Allentown about the bus service, which I didn't realize had been going on for 20 years. I've got a call in to the person. They actually have a director of air service development, and person hasn't returned my call, so I'm going to try again tomorrow, and I'll start badgering. But so again, this is just to get smarter. Mike, you
Yeah, I would like to add a few things to that. I did talk to Doug Blissett, and of course he's still communicating with American. You know, it's too early right now, but when they're able, you know, Doug and American want to get together and kind of come up with a plan as to what they see the future, when that might be. And then there's other opportunities out there as well, that's available, but you know, that's just all in the talks right now. I would like to say that I did get the SCASDEP grant, the fully executed grant today, as a matter of fact, from the USDOT. A paper copy anyway. I've had electronic copy since a couple of weeks, but so we do have that, and they did add another year to it. So the let's see, hang on, I got a date here somewhere. So the SCASDEP grant will expire on January 9th, 2026. So, 2026.
Holy mackerel!
That's
That's
good.
it. Used to be only 3 or 4 years. So wow.
Yeah. So we've got some time. I'm sure we'll get something by then. I'm telling you, you know, I have talked to some folks that are interested. You know, not Americans, but it's you know, it's interest, and it's nothing solid or anything like that. So don't get your hopes up. But you know, everybody I've talked to sees Athens as a very, very, very heavy potential. You know, and it's just amazing. We know it's there. We've seen the market studies, and everybody else does too. But you know, with the situation that everybody's in, a lot of it's just talking right now. But I think we really have a good opportunity in the future when time does come around that we'll be able to do something.
Yeah, I concur, Mike, because I think there could be an opportunity for someone here to sort of step in. So,
Yeah.
and you know, I talked to Bain the other day. He called me, and he's my data point of one for business travelers. And but I've talked also to my daughter and son-in-law, and all the major companies are revisiting their corporate travel, and they so it's going to be a new world, and maybe there's an opportunity for some. So
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
hope to be somewhat optimistic. But
Mhm.
it's great news. The other thing that in this GASDEP, equally important to the time frame, having lived through the earlier ones, if you said you were going, your strategy was to go to Charlotte and they gave you the money, you in the past had to stick pretty much to that. And now,
That's true.
so we also have the ability to, if it's a different solution, not only
Mhm.
extension of time, but if it came up Washington or to two different cities,
Right.
you can, I don't know the process, but you can apply for special dispensation. So we
No,
sounds
you're
like
absolutely right. They're very flexible, and my understanding from some of the conferences I've been to, it's just a matter of a letter and for them to make that decision. But you can change carriers and you can change destination.
nations. Yeah. You can't change the amount of money, but
No, can't do that.
and
And they gave another year. That's very generous. And I've been told that that a lot of times you can request additional years, but with them doing this 1 year, I don't know how that would be in the future.
good. Another topic which David, you're going to remember. You're some of our corporate memory here. Sustainability. Um, for reasons, it's sort of something that rightfully we didn't. We had a big plate when we did our plan, but we've also seen the Andrew. Can't remember Andrew's last name. The sustainability officer.
Saunders? Andrew
Yeah,
Saunders?
he's become head of central services. So, but it may be time to restart thinking about sustainability. And Diane's really been our conscience on this. So maybe you want to chat. Just a little history, Diane. That David,
Yeah.
I think you remember when we went to the sustainability meeting in 2018, and
Mm-hmm.
we
That was this one.
we both walked away. And as far as the airport went, it, very little to do with sustainability. We were talking about getting commercial. I think David and I and David Fluck all left and said, really doesn't have a lot to do with sustainability. It was build a website. And so where we left it was David took one or two different plans that Tim Beggerly had prepared and just didn't add anything, but just updated the status. So hopefully I'm representing that correctly, David. And,
Yeah, that sounds about right.
yeah, it was pretty much,
Yeah.
go ahead, Diane. Mhm.
Let me add a couple of things. Les was kind to give me quite a bit of information. Remember, Les, you gave me the PowerPoint from that workshop that you guys attended.
We were,
It's a Word document, by the way, to look at it. And, a lot of that, it does predate Mike being the airport director. The thing I did find interesting in that is that, in that workshop, they talked about the draft recommendations for the comprehensive plan and Envision Athens and all that, everything but the kitchen sink, like you said. There was nothing really specific. But I think now it suggests that we can go, I'm already doing some digging in things like the comprehensive plan, Envision Athens and everything else about what they do say about the airport. I actually sent Mike this, I'll send it to you as well, and that is I pulled down the University of Georgia sustainability plan. And it's interesting because they're obviously streets ahead. They already have emissions by activity and the percentage of total emissions by activity or subsector. They also have data on offsets. The offsets are kind of vague. They talk about timber holdings statewide as a big offset, which is really very general. But, I think it is a worthy place to start because it's also in the strategic commitments of the mayor and commission. It's sort of here to stay. And I think, as we move forward with strategic planning, I think that we can make a start to resume thinking about it, do our homework, and maybe, like Les, you said, maybe work on a new goal for the strategic plan, or at least put it in as a subsection of an existing goal. So
Yeah, we can chat. I think personally a separate goal, but the list that David and I saw, well, it turned out I didn't realize there were two different ones. Like one that Andrew had, and then one that they would send David and I. But there actually were three or four what you might think of traditional sustainability things. Then David's been educating me, if you remember, on jet fuel, some kind of alternative fuel, if that's the right word. There was some stuff about
That's
the,
avgas, not,
Avgas, yeah.
they're unleaded unleaded avgas alternatives
Yeah.
rather than jet
Yeah.
fuel.
so there were maybe 3 or 4 items. There were things about foliage at the airport, and I'll pull those out and send them to you. But the other thing that we met
Oh.
in our context, the sustainability office actually was trying to encourage people like us to get an intern, so there is, this again is 2 years ago, but we're also doing this and that, and Josh can correct me, the county has not really published the final plan. Andrew was working on that probably. And so when you go to the county's website and look for the sustainability plan, not there. Yeah. So,
Well, it's let's say it's in the embryonic stage. You know, there's actually, you know, that clean and renewable campaign. There's a link on their website for that, but it's a dead link. There's nothing there. But I mean, I think we've got some interesting leads. Ultimately, it would be really nice to be able to argue, you know, what percentage of emissions at the airport come from takeoffs and landings from different fuel types. What could we say about potential offsets with solar installations? There's nice acreage at the airport. It could be used, you know, there's the UGA plan is interesting from that perspective because it provides some general, very, very standard things in the business. I've done a lot of work in sustainability because I used to teach in that area, you know, so I'll send it to you, and I think we just need to make a start. I think it's not something that we should leave out of our strategic plan for, you know, for the time being. We need to get it back.
And my recommendation is that, you know, Mike and you all re-engage with Mike Wharton, who's our interim sustainability officer. I think solar is a great idea, Diane. I think that's worth looking at again.
Yeah.
I think the other thing, and this came up with Mayor and Commission recently, you know, questioning, you know, what is the environmental impact of the airport? I think one piece to that is if we do get commercial air, there will be an offset to the number of our residents who are driving all the way to Atlanta. And so
Yeah.
I think that to me is an important number to quantify and talk about the offset of fossil fuels if we're able to get commercial air in the next 3 or 4 years. And so those are the kind of numbers I think that are part of telling the story and why we're working so hard to get commercial air. I think solar and other items, I mean, that's good stuff to be working on now and trying to get a sense on what are the possibilities as we reengage. But I appreciate, Diana, you spend time on this. I think it's really important, and we appreciate y'all thinking through it again.
Well, see, if you look at the comprehensive plan and envision Athens, you know, if you look at it, you know, just quickly, it almost looks like a contradiction because they actually have language in them promoting development of air service at the airport. And one could say, well, how's, you know, isn't that going to aggravate the problem? But like you're saying, it's the offsets that we have to focus on. It's those little side stories that I think we can talk about, and we can think about how to develop an airport footprint within ACC with its different components. So anyway, yeah, it's interesting work. Yeah.
I'll send everyone, as usual, the ACRP I'll send it to all, has a great document. And
to me, I've got that one. Yeah.
And they break it into other things besides sustainability. So I'll send that. And again, we'll talk in a minute. We should leverage
the UGA plan.
This screams, you know, I'm with Josh and everyone, just a few baby steps to start. And then maybe this screams maybe for an intern in the spring. So we'll address this in the strategic plan update. Thanks, Dan. And I'll send out that ACRP or a link to it. Strategic plan update, since we've scheduled a time Wednesday the 5th at 1 p.m. Mike will set up a WebEx, and we were going to try and look at first the initiatives from 2020, see which ones still make sense, come up with some new ones. Then we actually have to, we've talked with Josh and a bunch of us that the we really need an infrastructure goal, which we were sort of attempting to do with the first goal, and where we're going to do master plans. So we actually, I'll take a cut at that because we just take the SIP and the SPLOS, and Mike really outlined what our infrastructure strategy was in those plans, is to get the approachways. We need some targets, and we also need to discuss sustainability. But so I've set up a 2-hour meeting. I'll do a lot of the legwork and just take some first cuts, but hopefully we can make some good progress, and something that would be probably done much better in person, but we'll try and do it on the WebEx. So
Yeah, we could meet
it was going
first.
to be the committee chairs. It was going to be Diane, David, myself, and Mike, but anyone else is welcome to join. Robert, I'll send him an invite.
So
So
Mike, we still can't meet in person, hey, even just for that small group.
I think it'd be hard to do a strict social distancing 6 feet. I don't know.
Yeah, that's Mike's call.
Yeah, we can think about that and say, I mean, we've got that big room in the commercial terminal that we could spread out if you wanted to. I mean, we could walk in with masks and we could, we'd be okay there, but it's up to you guys. We can do it the other way.
Maybe we try it on the WebEx, and if it
Mhm.
doesn't work, then we make that plan B.
Yeah,
That'd be fine with me.
sounds good. Okay.
Then the last thing, UGA interns and projects. Our intern, our public relations person, Sarah, she actually is, leave it to her. She sent Mike and copied me on an email Monday or Friday. So she's back in town already. She'd like to come back. We had talked about bringing her back, maybe in an expanded role, like our public relations person. So to have her not only do the new annual report, but maybe content, help Angela with the web and the Facebook, maybe do some customer work. So Mike and Diane and I chatted about him checking with Kathy Paget. They do and use an intern. And so this would be someone X hours a week. And we're trying to learn what they're doing. And Mike's going to get back to Sarah eventually with some idea. Mm-hmm.
She did a good job for us on our other work, and I was impressed. So I'm looking forward to it.
Now, maybe if Angela's on it, working under Angela's direction, we have this rather, and it makes sense, but pretty very spelled out what non-county person can do in terms of the web and the Facebook. I assume it could still be productive, but you'd have to, if she was going to, we've talked about adding content, pictures of us, bios, all sorts of opportunities. But I assume if she worked through Angela, and maybe Angela knows better than all of us, so she went to that class. So.
Yeah, there are limitations. I'll find out from Angela and let you know about that.
But under supervision, I would hope she could actually still, she couldn't put anything out there, I assume, without Angela signing off.
Right. Most definitely.
But she could create stuff. It wouldn't be like she would just be spinning her wheels, hopefully.
Well, she can create, right? She just can't, I guess, put things on, ACC.
But she could pass it on to Angela.
Yeah, she could do that, right? That's very possible. Absolutely.
So I'll send you and everyone again a list of some of the ideas of things she could do, and find out how many hours and what a typical salary is. So I foresaw other, just in my head, projects, but probably in the spring. One would be, we've chatted that we need a quick and dirty way to do economic impact. We can't wait every 10 years, and we can't get 10 people from GDOT, and so that could be an economics project. And sustainability, we could easily bring in, assuming they're still where they were 2 years ago, to give us a intern. So probably in the spring. So
yeah, that would be a good idea.
And that's all I had. Mike, you said there might be one other piece of new business regarding David and his
His subcommittee.
About another construction project.
Yes, sir. Planning has asked me, or asked us to look at a preliminary plan development at 357 and 437 Little Oak Street. The proposed development is for two parcels currently zoned as single-family residential and single-family residential airport overlay. Some of it's inside our airport overlay and some of it's outside. They'd like to rezone it to mixed density residential plan development and mixed density residential plan development airport overlay in order to construct 67 cottage style 2 and 3 bedroom flats on a combined 10.82 acre site. So I'm requesting that this go to our subcommittee for further review.
Okay.
Now, Mike, is that the same one we looked at before, but now with a different purpose? The
Not
address
the same site. I think it's a different site, but in that location.
Okay. So what happened with those others that people did look at and we talked about?
It's still in the planning stages as far as planning department. I don't think it's been presented by them yet to their people, but they do have our information and they're, but I think this is something new.
Okay. Thank you.
I think, and I appreciate David keep plugging against us. I finally realized after the meeting what he was trying to explain, and more my being dense. But if we get something that is really not in our overlay zone, and again, realizing that it's 3-dimensional and you could be under the zone from what I gather, is that the first thing we just say, hey, it's not in the zone, we shouldn't be dealing with it? Or, because like last time we actually maybe ruled on something that maybe shouldn't have come to us, but I can understand why people realize they're looking at the 2-dimensional,
Well, and in my opinion, I mean, regardless of where it is, if it's in the zone or close to the zone, I mean, if there's a lot of density to it, you certainly want to be careful. So, but that's up to, David's, and our subcommittee there to investigate it and make sure that, we don't have those issues or something built where somebody's going to complain, because that is pretty much, and David can tell you, it's pretty much on our approach in and also out. So it's a critical area.
And again, did the other properties go before the commission, or just out of curiosity, I think?
The other ones we discussed prior?
Yeah, the 3 that we talked.
Yeah, I think one of them is close. I think the other 2 haven't been there yet. I think they're kind of still, I think planning is still dealing with those internally. But I did see one of them was in one meeting that they had. I did see that.
Okay. So that's pretty much all I had. Anyone else have? Thank you, and Angela, and thank you, Josh. Anyone else have anything you want to bring up? Or our next meeting, I forget the date, but it's the 4th Thursday at 3:00.
I just have a question for Josh. Did you say you've closed the zoo again?
Yes, ma'am. As of today, we have.
Okay.
It doesn't mean it will remain closed, but at this time we don't. I think it's the best thing to be open based on some circumstances and just kind of the community spread that we're seeing.
Yeah, it's for the best. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, I would ask Rob. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And just as context, the way we're thinking about this is, in what instances, are we needing to make sure that everyone stays safe so that we can care for our animals? And so that's really the how we're thinking about the zoo, because there's only so many people on our staff that can care for animals. We need to be extremely careful that we keep everybody safe, and so that they can keep the animals safe.
So when you close it, does that mean that the work that was underway at the zoo has to stop again?
No, they're figuring out how to do that safely. I can't speak to the details on that, but yeah, they'll continue on.
Good. I'm glad. Okay.
I guess this week there's a big milestone in terms of SEC football. I believe Friday is the big decision, at least if I've been reading the sports sections correctly. So that should be interesting. So,
Hmm.
anything else? Do we have? Oh, we can't take a motion to.
Real quick, I just want to say a huge thanks to Mike and the entire airport team on the fireworks. I mean, we've got so much good feedback on that, and
Great.
see all y'all have done. I think y'all have laid a lot of this groundwork as the airport authority, and people are thinking about the airport as a place that can do great community events like this. And I think it was a great event. I think people thought about the airport in a new way, and people came to the airport that hadn't been there before and really enjoyed it. You know, I've heard a lot of stories of people pulling up in parking lots at Lowe's and other places, and you know, y'all are one of the highest points in the community. So it was a lovely event, and everybody appreciated it. And Mike, thanks for your leadership on that.
Thank you, Josh.
We appreciate it.
Second that. So we'll be in touch. We'll all be getting together next week. So we'll see if we can. I think we may be able to make progress. It's not
I
like
think
going in with blank sheets of paper. So, and
Yeah.
I'll have it to do to send out the ACRP sustainability. And
And I'll send you the UGA summary plan. Yeah.
good. Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
I guess we can just close the meeting.
Bye.
Yeah. All
So-
right. Well,